The most evil kings. In a hurry, Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, a name long enough for three people, was known to Romans simply as Caligula. His life unfolded like a dark comedy, where the director forgot to apply any censorship. Caligula was born into a powerful family. His father, General Germanicus, was a legendary commander revered by the Roman people. As a child, he followed his father to military camps, where soldiers made him tiny sets of armor. Cute? Yes. A sign of a bright future? Absolutely not. Germanicus died under suspicious circumstances.
Holy shit!
His mother was exiled.
Airpockety, reagsammy, sednegnozy.
And his brothers were forced into death one by one. His family fell apart, and Caligula survived purely by luck. In 37 CE, Caligula became emperor at 24. The public rejoiced. For the first few months, he ruled decently, pardoning prisoners, lowering taxes, and recalling exiles. Sounds great, right? But then Caligula fell seriously ill, and when he recovered, he was like a faulty software update, running but full of glitches. Caligula began declaring himself a living god. He ordered statues of himself placed in every temple, and demanded to be called Lord of Day and Night. He built a golden statue of himself and forced people to kneel before it. Then he started talking to the god statues, arguing, debating, even threatening to beat them if they disobeyed. His greatest performance was appointing his horse, Incititus, as a senator.
Wait, what?
The horse lived in a marble stable, ate oats mixed with gold, and wore an emerald necklace. Caligula even planned to give the horse a wife. Holy shit, this horse had a better life than most Romans. Definitely better than me. And there's more. Caligula enjoyed having people beheaded, not in battle, just during dinner. If someone annoyed him, he'd say, "Execute him." What did he do wrong? His face was boring. He forced noble families to watch their children's execution. Anyone who cried was killed next. One senator had to grin as his son was beheaded, just to survive. But his greatest achievement was declaring war on the ocean. Yes, the literal ocean. He ordered the Roman army to march to the coast, line up, and stab their spears into the waves. Kill Poseidon. How dare he defy me? Then he had the soldiers collect seashells as spoils of victory. Caligula completely spiraled. He married and divorced 4 times within just a few years. He married his own sister, Drusilla, and when she died, he declared national mourning and banned laughter for an entire year. He emptied the imperial treasury. When the money ran out, he simply confiscated the nobles' property. Anyone who objected was killed. In 41 CE, a group of Praetorian guards ambushed Caligula in a narrow corridor and stabbed him over 30 times. Caligula ruled for only 3 years and 10 months, but enough to become the lasting symbol of madness and unchecked absolute power. His favorite method of punishment was impalement. Yes, the full horror movie version. Not a metaphor, literally. He had long, sharpened wooden stakes driven into the ground, then slowly impaled victims on them, leaving them to die over hours or even days. Vlad did this to everyone: thieves, treacherous nobles, even the elderly, women and children. My rule is never kill the elderly or the young. Unfortunately, ma'am, you're not young, and your grandson is definitely not old. Vlad III, better known as Dracula, is the kind of guy who would be banned from every children's amusement park if he lived today. Vlad was born in 1431 into a noble family. His father was a member of the Order of the Dragon, earning the name Dracula, making Vlad III the son of the dragon, or Dracula. At age 11, Vlad and his younger brother Radu were handed over to the Ottoman Empire as hostages. They were imprisoned, psychologically tormented, and exposed to the empire's cruelest punishments. In 1447, Vlad's father and older brother were assassinated. The Ottomans released Vlad to serve as a puppet, someone they assumed would obey, but they miscalculated. Vlad became Voivode of Wallachia in 1456, and he played by his own very bloody rules. For the first few years, things were surprisingly fine. He cracked down on corruption and rebuilt his army. Under his rule, theft practically vanished. Legends say you could leave a gold cup in the middle of the market and it would stay untouched forever because everyone knew exactly what happened to wrongdoers. Wonderful! But then Vlad started going way too far. Vlad's greatest achievement was his 1462 campaign against the Ottomans. When Sultan Mehmed II marched 90,000 troops into Wallachia, Vlad had only 30,000. He used scorched earth tactics, burning villages, poisoning wells, and launching night raids. But the masterpiece of his strategy was the Forest of the Impaled. As the Ottomans approached the capital, they found a nightmare: thousands, possibly up to 20,000 bodies impaled on stakes, lining the road for kilometers. Rotting corpses, choking stench, and crows everywhere. Even Sultan Mehmed reportedly said, "This man is not human. I cannot conquer a madman." The Ottomans retreated. Vlad then spiraled completely out of control. Once, he invited nobles and peasants to a feast and asked if they wanted a life without suffering. When they agreed, he simply locked the doors and burned the entire building down. Problem solved. No more poor people. In 1476, during another battle with the Ottomans, Vlad was killed. The Turks cut off his head, preserved it in honey, and sent it to Constantinople as a trophy. Vlad reigned 3 times, totaling only about 6 years, yet he is estimated to have killed between 40,000 and 100,000 people. Centuries later, Bram Stoker borrowed the name Dracula for his iconic vampire novel. And so Vlad III became a legend, not a real blood drinker, but someone who inspired fear greater than any monster in folklore. Qin Shi Huang is the kind of ruler who could stand next to Rome's craziest emperors and never feel outmatched. He became king at 13, and by 38, had unified all of China. Qin Shi Huang, born Yingzheng in 259 BCE during the Warring States period, a time when 7 kingdoms fought non-stop like one endless action movie. His childhood was spent in Handan, the Zhou capital, where people absolutely despised anyone from Qin. He grew up surrounded by hostility and danger. In 247 BCE, his father became king of Qin and died almost immediately afterward. Yingzheng took the throne at age 13. In 238 BCE at 22, he launched a coup, removing Chancellor Liu Buwei and all opposing factions. One day, he looked at a map of China split into 7 pieces and thought, "Nope, let's merge this." And so he launched his unification campaign. Wonderful, right? Over the next decade, 230 to 221 BCE, he crushed the remaining 6 kingdoms through brutal warfare. Millions are estimated to have died. After the Battle of Chongping, Qin forces buried 400,000 Zhou prisoners alive, one of the largest wartime atrocities in ancient history. China was unified for the first time, and Yingzheng proclaimed himself Qin Shi Huang, meaning the first emperor. After unification, he began optimizing the nation, standardizing currency, measurements, writing, building roads, and constructing the Great Wall to repel the nomads. Laborers who collapsed died, and those who died were buried where they fell to save transportation effort. But Qin Shi Huang's biggest achievement was the infamous book burning and scholar burying in 2113 BCE. He hated Confucian scholars because they constantly criticized his policies. So he decided, if you want to live in the past, I'll erase that past for you. He ordered all books burned except those on medicine, agriculture, or divination. Thousands of ancient texts were destroyed. Hundreds of scholars who protested were buried alive. It was one of the greatest destructions of knowledge in human history. Problem solved. No more critics. Qin Shi Huang was obsessed with immortality. He sent expeditions for elixirs of life and mostly received mercury. The funniest part is, he believed it. He drank it, repeatedly. This guy's insanely cruel, but honestly, so dumb it kind of balances out. He built 270 palaces and slept in a different one every night to avoid assassins. Anyone who revealed his location had their entire family executed. The crown jewel of his legacy is his mausoleum, the Terracotta Army. Thousands of life-size soldiers, horses, chariots, and real weapons, crafted so precisely it screams, "I don't want to die, but if I must, I'll die looking badass." The tomb took over 38 years to build. Once completed, every craftsman involved was buried alive inside to preserve the secrets. In 210 BCE, Qin Shi Huang died, most likely from the very immortality potion he kept drinking. Just 4 years later, the Qin dynasty collapsed. Qin Shi Huang ruled for 37 years, but left one of the most controversial legacies in Chinese history. Emperor Nero is a name that makes Roman history both furious and absurd. Nero was born in 37 CE. His father died when he was only 3. His mother, Agrippina, was exiled for allegedly plotting to kill Emperor Caligula. After Caligula died, Agrippina was recalled, married Emperor Claudius, who was also her uncle, and convinced him to adopt Nero. I love you, father. In 54 CE, Claudius died under very convenient circumstances, with rumors saying his wife fed him poisonous mushrooms. Britannicus, the more legitimate heir, also unexpectedly died shortly after. Clearly, this was the Roman edition of Game of Thrones. Nero ascended to the throne at just 16. Miraculously, Nero ruled surprisingly well in the first few years. He lowered taxes, provided disaster relief, and supported the arts. People thought, oh, maybe this kid will turn out better than his mother. But then the main character began unlocking his darker skill set. Nero married Octavia, his stepsister, as a political agreement.
Wow.
But Nero quickly fell for Poppaea Sabina, a married beauty. Poppaea became pregnant, and Agrippina wasn't pleased. Nero thought, this old woman is too troublesome, and secretly ordered her assassination. He tried staging accidents, a sinking boat, a collapsing ceiling, but Agrippina survived all of them. Eventually, Nero lost patience and had her killed outright. Encouraged by Poppaea, Nero divorced Octavia, exiled her, then had her killed, and even displayed her head like a trophy. But Nero later kicked Poppaea to death while she was pregnant. Nero completely spiraled out of control. He killed friends, political rivals, even a senator whose face looked too boring. He had a young slave named Sporus, castrated, and married him in a full royal ceremony. His most infamous moment was the Great Fire of Rome in 64 CE. The city burned violently for days, destroying over 70% of Rome. Rumor has it, he watched Rome burn while casually playing the fiddle. Some sources claim Nero started the fire intentionally to clear land for his grand project, the Domus Aurea, the Golden Palace, which was so extravagant it even had a rotating banquet hall. The people were furious. Nero needed a scapegoat, and he chose the Christians. He blamed Christians for the fire and launched a brutal persecution. They were crucified, burned alive, or thrown to wild beasts in the arena. Nero's bizarre behavior pushed the Senate's patience to the limit. Eventually, they declared him an enemy of the state. Nero panicked and said, "I will not let them take me alive." He ended his life by stabbing himself in the throat. Nero died at just 30, ending a 13-year reign that history still can't decide was a tragedy or a dark comedy.